album Urban Renewal called It's Not the Crime. That's pretty much it for this pre-recorded Steve show. Thanks indeed for listening, and thanks as ever to my my kind of luminous colleagues here. We've got Harry.
Cheers.
We've got super posh Rufus.
Yeah.
And of course, lovely Sammy.
I'm tired, ma'am.
Hopefully we'll be back next week, depending on how I am feeling. And we'll leave you with the remix of FEAR, Fear, by Ian Brown. This is the remix done by Uncle. And he's got a new album coming out shortly, but make do with this until that is out. And up next, Stuart McConaughey and his Freak Zone. See ya. It's taken me a while to play that, and you know, in the end, obviously, it seemed like an obvious choice to start the show with. Morrissey and Every Day Is Like Sunday from his first solo album, Leave a Hate, all those years ago. It seems a long time ago now, because it was. It's Steve Show, BBC6 Music, stating the obvious, and I'm pleased to be back after a pre-record last week. We are live here in the studio. You can text, you can email, you can get involved should you wish to, and also if we are running out of steam, you can contribute stuff, because I'll be honest with you, I've got nothing. I am a very busy man, I have not given the show any thought, and I am relying heavily on my cohorts here, my laughing, braying sycophants, who include Harry there at the end. He's a banker. Thank you very much indeed.
You're great.
Sycophant 1, sycophant number 2, super posh, adding a touch of class to Six Music. Thank you very much indeed, Rufus.
Thanks, Steve.
And and also Sammy.
I love you.
Thank you very much indeed. And only one of them was being ironic. And it's nice to have you here, and I appreciate you coming in, as always. We're also welcoming back Jude, our producer's been away. Steve Wright just ran into Steve Wright in the lift. He's a lovely man. He's just coming in on a Sunday, just likes to be around radio, I think. Just likes to hang out in the worlds of radio. And so good to see him. And we just shared a lift, and he told me he loved me. There was no irony there, either, was there?
It was a very small lift as well, Steve, wasn't it?
It was too intimate. It was too intimate to be in a lift with Steve Wright and yourself, Rufus. So you witnessed that moment.
I was between you, the two of you.
Yeah.
You know, you're both a bit taller than me. It was quite bizarre. It was quite a strange dynamic.
Is Steve Wright tall?
I might have made that up, actually. He's a little bit taller than me. Good looking man, though.
A fascinating insight there into the world of Six Music and BBC Radio. And so it's a lovely chat. I've been told in the past that that this first link can drone on a bit sometimes and alienate listeners, so we will crack on with more music, and we'll be back and we'll chat to these guys, find out what's been going on after we've heard from the Concretes. From their 2003 debut album, that Swedish band, The Concretes, and You Can't Hurry Love. It's the Steve Show, BBC6 Music. So as I say, I'm here with my my band of cohorts, and we welcome, as I say, Harry and also Rufus. What's the most interesting thing, Rufus, that's happened to you this week?
Steve, I've got a bit of radio gold here.
Oh,
You say that now.
Oh, I do. But on Friday night, I got engaged.
whoa! You know, sometimes I wonder, do people actually care about our lives?
No.
I suspect not, but nevertheless, for those one or two people who are sad and lonely,
Thank you. I don't know how
we'll share this
interesting
information with you.
for anyone, really. I mean, I know that we have a certain, interest from listeners in our personal lives. Not limited, I think.
A limited interest, yeah.
But yes, on Friday night, it was my birthday on Friday, and I took my girlfriend down to St James's Park at midnight. That's rather sinister.
Yeah, it does, actually.
It's meant to be romantic. It sounds really romantic when I told my mum.
How did you persuade her to go for a walk in St James's Park come midnight?
Well, we'd been to St John's Restaurant and had...
Let's go and look for Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, exactly. We'd been to St John's Restaurant, which is a wonderful restaurant, although other traditional English restaurants are available.
Yeah. Isn't it, just on the subject of restaurant, should it be pronounced in super posh language, restaurant?
Restaurant.
You some posh people, they never pronounce that final T.
Oh, really?
Restaurant.
Restaurant.
Oh, is it a restaurant?
I think I say restaurant, don't
Okay.
I? But I do say St John's rather than St John's.
Sure. Yeah. So you persuaded her to come wandering.
That's right. And I should say, by the way, at St John's that they serve things like offal and tripe and all that sort of stuff. And the waitress rushed over and said, "Oh, before you order, I should tell you I've got 2 specials left, only 2 portions. Calves brains on toast."
Calves brains on toast.
And,
so you'd buried a ring in some in some tripe and onions.
Romantically enough. I love the fact that toast was probably a deal breaker as well.
Yeah.
Is it wholemeal? Granary. Horrid. Not having that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we then took a taxi back to my flat, and I said, why don't we go for a walk? Rather like we were kind of 18-year-olds, you know. And I grabbed a bottle of champagne, and we went down to St James's Park and sat by the lake.
Did she think something was brewing?
She might have done, mainly because I'd lost my house keys, and in my panic, I emptied my man bag onto the pavement, including...
Is that a euphemism?
Emptied my man bag. Wow. Why not? That should add to some kind of It's some kind of canon. I love the idea as well that he's trying to paint this the most romantic moment in his life for us, and you've already sullied it in that way.
I do apologise.
So did a box or something fall out?
Well, yeah, box in a small velvet pouch fell off the pavement, along with the ubiquitous pack of playing cards, some keys, and some pound coins. And she kind of was handing them back to me, relieved that I'd found the house keys. And I snatched this velvet pouch from her hand and said, "No, nothing. That's nothing." And then let myself in, got the champagne, came down, and kind of frog marched her slightly. And then, of course, my conversation dried up a little bit. She was kind of chatting, and so what do you think of the food? And are you having a nice birthday? And I was like, yeah, just a bit further.
Just walk faster, love. Walk faster.
Quickly, my arm in the crook of hers, dragging her along. And
were you nervous at the question being asked?
Yeah, really nervous. And it was kind of, I thought, if I start this speech, it's about the only thing between a couple I think that is a secret, apart from like presents or something. This is something you talk about as a couple, and then you the actual asking of it is the very, very frightening moment. And I was really terrified, of shaking and crying and all that, and so was she. It was all very nice. It was nice.
And we'll play a record, come back, you'll give us the speech.
Yeah. I can remember it.
Yeah, no, what I mean is, because there was always that thing in Seinfeld they joked about, even with the phrase "I love you," which is that idea that once you've said it and it's out there, you can't take it back. So if you say, "Will you marry me?" and they go, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's right.
Then it's there and it's out there and it's hanging in the air, and so where you can do anything. And that must have been the fear.
It did. It was terrible. Exactly. And it was actually once I started the speech, not even saying "Will you marry me," but the act of reaching into my bag and getting my ring, and I started off with some speech about "You've given me lots of lovely things today, and I want to give something to you," or so,
Sure.
But the moment I started that speech, I thought, there's no turning back now. And also, there's no turning back for the rest of my life. This is, which is kind of frightening.
And it would have been much easier, of course, in say the 1940s, where perhaps if you'd got her pregnant, you'd have been obliged to marry her. It was so much easier in those days.
Exactly.
A stern father could have demanded it of you. The shotgun wedding. A lot of that anxiety is taken out of it. You're, of course, something of a magician. You've done a little bit of magic in your time. I'm surprised you didn't incorporate that.
Do you know what? I nearly did. I spent a day in an office a few weeks ago cutting a small square hole in every single one of a deck of 52 playing cards so that it would hold a ring perfectly, and when you held the deck straight it wouldn't fall out, but when you riffled the deck, which is just to drop the cards from one to the other, it would pop into the palm of my hand, so I could put the deck on my hand, riffle it and produce a ring. I decided, my sister pointed out, that would show my heart was in the cards.
Yes.
And also it would just be too lame, wouldn't it?
Or you could have just pulled it from behind her ear. Oh, what's this? A shiny diamond ring.
Felt like an 8-year-old girl.
Exactly. Yeah. Then you could have. All right, we need to play some more music, but a little round of applause in the Steve Reich style for a man who's getting married, and we'll talk more about that, I'm sure, particularly when we can make it into some kind of hello-style celebrity Six Music wedding. It's what your wife would want. Out on the 24th of September, that's a hawk and a hacksaw, and their new single "God Bless the Ottoman Empire," which is from their third album, "The Way the Wind Blows." And it says here that they've been invited to play all tomorrow's parties Nightmare Before Christmas, which runs from the 7th to the 9th of December, curated by Portishead, which I didn't realise that they were doing. But Portishead, have they ever put out anything else other than that live album? It's just the first album, the live one, and that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Nothing else from Portishead.
Right.
Interesting. Fascinating. Interesting. There you are. If you're a fan of slice of life music, then Kate Nash is the woman for ye. Harry, it's your choice. The reason I have my cronies here is not just to hear about their wonderful news, it's also for them to recommend tunes to me, stuff that I may have forgotten or never heard. And Harry, what have you chosen this week?
This week, Steve, I've got Volcano Girls by Veruca Salt, which is, on one hand, it's a fantastic piece of lady rock action. But the main reason for picking it is often I'm sort of stopped in the street and people say, Harry, love the Steve Show, been listening since day one. I love the gang of zany cronies,
Sure.
They're often interesting and hilarious. But whatever happened to Mr. Fiendishly Difficult Music Question?
Sure.
And, I don't hold back. I tell them about the contractual wrangle, the legal stuff and the knife fight in the car park. And, he just couldn't come back. But they say, but we love questions, we love quizzes.
Sure, of course they do.
And so I thought, well, if we play this track by Veruca Salt, I could say, and I'll open it up to everyone in listener land and in the studio, if you can spot the obscure Beatles reference in the lyrics to this song.
The world is in financial crisis. That doesn't stop banker Harry from still finding time to choose old rock treats, Veruca Salt and Volcano Girls. And you threw a question at us there, Har, and what was the answer?
Well, the obscure Beatles reference. Ruth, you've got an idea?
I did hear a "Here's another clue for you," but it wasn't "Here's another clue for you all," as in The Walrus was Paul. Was that anything to do with it?
It was, yeah. Glass Onion by the Beatles. Lennon says, here's a clue for you all. The Walrus was Paul. Here's the Seether was Louise, and the Seether was Veruca Salt's big breakthrough hit. Very nerdy and worthy question.
That is worthy of the obscure music reference.
But talking about Financial Meltdown, 2 weeks ago on this very show, you said, is it all over? I said it's going to get worse. Some big bank's going to go down. I was right.
You were.
You heard it here first.
What next? Are we all going to be paying crazy interest rates and have our homes repossessed in about a year's time?
Yeah, it's all over.
Thank you very much. Another fascinating insight from a professional, seasoned professional. This is going to seem... You know when someone prefixes a question or a statement with, I don't want to seem racist, but... Well, no, listen, seriously, this is not a bit of shtick. This is a genuine question because it has perplexed me. And it's perplexed me for some time, and I was reminded of it again last night, eating some fantastic Asian fusion food, because I'm super hip and trendy last night. And I'm using the chopsticks. I'll be honest with you, I'm a master of the chopsticks. Chinese people themselves have seen me eating with chopsticks and said, you're an absolute master. Do you know what I mean? Seriously, people are impressed by I've had no lessons, I'm a master of the chopsticks.
You've not had lessons?
Never had lessons. I just picked up a couple of sticks early on, snapped them apart, fingers, knew the positioning, everything. Dynamite, right? So I'm doing all the methods, scooping and everything. But questions always perplex me. Why the chopsticks? Firstly, why did they originate? Okay, I mean, I know why, I know how that they originated in China and so on, and they spread around a lot of that Asian area. But why the chopstick? As Jerry Seinfeld points out famously, they've seen the fork. Why are they not going with the fork? It's not like there's people tilling the land in China with a couple of pool cues. They've seen the fork. And my question is, what the spoon and the fork developed elsewhere in the world, why the chopstick? And moreover, why maintain the chopstick usage all these years later? It's a genuine question that I'm genuinely perplexed by, because it doesn't seem like an instinctive item to come up with, because it's quite tricky. I mean, as I say, I'm a master of it, but do you know what I mean? To have the sticks between the fingers, the spoon or the fork, very easy, you just shovel into the mouth, but the chopstick...
Especially eating rice, it's probably the most difficult food to eat with chopsticks.
I mean, I know a lot of the food over there is quite sticky, and consequently, but I don't see why that particularly wouldn't be helped with the spoon.
Do you know what, this was surprising, but I woke up thinking about this very quickly. I did. I woke up thinking about the Seinfeld line about, I admire the Chinese because they're sticking with the chopsticks.
Yeah,
they're keeping on with them. Because I realised...
I like the idea that this is a man who proposed to his girlfriend on Friday night, but he's waking up thinking about chopsticks.
I really did. I think they chop up all the meat, particularly before cooking it, whereas we tend to cook it in the piece and then chop it up afterwards on the knives and forks. But they don't do any chopping as part of the eating process.
I see. But is that a chicken and egg situation? Is it because of the chopsticks causing problems with eating? Yeah. Therefore, they're not doing any of the chopping later?
I don't know.
I mean, all I'm saying is, I don't know if there's anyone out there who can answer this question. Maybe a historian of Chinese history, a Chinaman, maybe. Can we still say that? Is that loud? A Chinaman? Is it a Chinaman or a Chinawoman? If they know the answer, 64046 at Stephen.something. 6 music. And this is not, as I say, this is not a bit of business, not a bit of shtick. I genuinely I've been perplexed, and I've always think with the radio it's a great way to source information and answers.
Steve, you said you'd got nothing for today. That's brilliant.
From 2002, that's Spread Your Love from the Black Rebel Motorcycle Club. It's the Steve Show, BBC 6 Music with me, Stephen Merchant. I was just checking out when that song was released, and there's a nice little entry on Wikipedia with regard to the Black Rebel Motorcycle Club. It says, during 2005, drummer Nick Jago was estranged from the band, reportedly due to his drug problems that had become apparent. Firstly, when he accepted an NME award in 2003 and remained on stage for a full 9 minutes completely silent. And a year later at the 2004 V Festival, where he notoriously walked out when asked to sign an inflatable penis. I just love the idea that tipped him over the edge. I wonder if he ever signed it, and if so, if that inflatable penis exists somewhere, with maybe a half-finished signature.